Hi everyone, it's Karen here. Welcome to another video with me and Lavinia Stamps. This month, November, marks the start of a new creative challenge entitled Woodland Whispers. So I've created this card in alignment with that challenge. I'm using a gel print background that I've created using Distress Oxides. I've got Celestial Tree for the main focal point, this lovely set of fairy foragers. I've got Fallen Ivy. For my foliage at the bottom, I've got Spanish Moss, Meadow Grass and Twisted Vine set. And I'm also using one of the moons from the Moon mask set. I'll talk to you about the foliage at the bottom when we get there, and as always, step by step, I'll explain why and how I do things. So as I said, we're going to use the gel plate for the background. I'm going to start with an A4 sheet of card and then I shall cut it down. The card size that I ended up with was 14.5 centimetres square. So we'll get started. So I've got my 6-inch gel plate here. The colours that I'm going to be using, I've got Mustard Seed in Distress Oxides, Mowed Lawn and Lucky Clover. And I'm going to be applying those with a smoothie straight to my gel plate. The other colours that I'm going to be using today are Verdant in Versafine Clair, Green Oasis, Shady Lane, and as always, Nocturne for my silhouette stamping. I'm also going to be using white acrylic paint, my spritzy bottle, and my fan brush. As always, a link to all the products that I use are available on my YouTube channel, so if you haven't subscribed, I'd love to see you over there. My Facebook group and pages are Karen Telfer Craft, and there's a Karen Telfer Craft Creative Community group. I am starting my tag series, and for those of you who joined me last year, we did 24 days of tags in a row, each one using a different technique, so I hope you'll join me for that. But I'll be showcasing some of those on the Monday videos as well. So here we go, let's get started. I'm going to be using Mowed Lawn for my background. So using my smoothie, I am just going to apply this Mowed Lawn straight onto my gel plate. You can use distress inks, but they do tend to bead a little. It might not be a problem because we are going to apply loads of water to it, but I do prefer using the oxides for this. So you can see I've just gone around the edge. Then I'm going to take Lucky Clover. Now this is a darker green, so I'm just going to be very gently applying some of this to the center. So I didn't fill that hole. It's difficult to see, even as close up here, it's difficult to see. I've gone back to my Mowed Lawn and I'm now going to go over, making sure then that I've hopefully covered the entire plate. And you know what? If you haven't, it's really okay, because with our mottled background, it'll just add to the effect. So I'm going to take my spritzy bottle, give me a bit of water, take my fan brush, make sure that I've got a decent amount of water on my brush, and then I'm just going to, using another brush, got a few bits of brush head in there. So I'm just going to apply this water splatters all the way over my plate, picking these spurious. There we go. That is as simple as the background. I'm going to take a piece of A4 super smooth card. This is 300 GSM. And there you have. Isn't that fantastic? So because I just added a tiny bit of that Lucky Clover, you've got spotted here and there. The second pull is not so great. Let me show you. so I wouldn't be keeping that. So I keep one sheet, and because I make a session of these, because oh my goodness, it's so much fun. And then I just pull the excess. And at the end of the day, you could have something really quite interesting. So I'm going to clear all this away, wait for this to dry, and then I'm going to cut it down to size and come back to you. So here we are. It's nice and dry, and you do want it to be dry, and I've just cut it down to the edges of where my gel plate was. I'm going to take VersaFine Clear Nocturne and my Celestial Tree. This is a great stamp because it's got this lovely long trunk, but as we have it in this card, we're not using the whole trunk. We're going to keep this straight, and I'm going to place my first tree just there on the left hand side so that there's a bit of space between the edge of the card and my tree, and a bit of the trunk is showing through. Then without re-inking, I'm going to put one next to it and drop it just a little. There we have. And now we're going to ink it up one more time. To get our tall tree in the background. But I'm going to ink it off once. So what I'm stamping onto my card is a second generation tree. Up there. Voila. Just going to move this out of the way and clean this up. I always work with a tea towel. I have an assortment of old tea towels. I clean my stamps, clean my work surface as I go along. Then I'm going to take my moon mask and I'm just going to pop it so that it's, let me show you, it's sort of popping the top part of this tree. There we have it. I'm going to take mustard seed. Actually, there's quite a lot on here, so and using my smoothie from the center of the moon mask out, I'm just going to flick to create a bit of this halo around the edge. And then I didn't ink my sponge up again. You just want a tiny bit of that to create this yellow hue in the moon. And then you've still got the green shining through, so it looks like that mottled effect that you get on the moon. Then I'm going to take Falling Ivy. Again, ink that up with my Nocturne. And I'm going to stamp a few coming down from the top. When I'm stamping from the top, you can see I like to turn my card around. Why do I do that? I don't really know. It's just easier to see. There's no science behind that one. So I'm just going to create 5 bits of the ivy hanging down there. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now, if you've used a slightly smaller gel plate and it's not 5, no worries. We're just creating a bit of a frame for our whole design. And you can see that I'm orienting this stamp at different heights. There we go. I'm happy with that. We're going to stop there. I'm just going to clean this off and clean my stamp. Again, I just use my tea towel. These are cotton tea towels so that I don't land up with any fluff on my stamps and my work surface. Then I'm going to take my foliage stamps at the bottom. Now, if you don't have the same foliage stamps as me, No worries. The only thing you need to be thinking about is creating different texture. So let me show you. First of all, we're going to start with Spanish moss. And we're going to take two types of greens. I've got Verdant and Green Oasis. I'm going to start with Green Oasis. This is quite a strong colour. And I'm going to stamp along the bottom, creating a little, giving a little bit of space between. Can you see that? I've got a bit of space between each of my stampings. And you'll see why. Because we want to come back in with different stamps. I'm going to start that one up there. Okay. As I say, if you don't have the same stamps as me, no worries. What you need to be thinking about is different textures. So, what I've got here is a tall, floaty one. Now I'm going to take a short, fluffy one. And I'm using here Shady Lane. And I'm going to pop this along the bottom. Not all the way along the bottom, just a few little pieces here and there. So that's Shady Lane. So you've now got a contrast in the colour and a contrast in the texture. I am going to go back with my Spanish moss and a slightly lighter colour. I'm going to take this Verdant. It's just a great, great colour, this one, because it's almost fluorescent. And it gives you that illusion that these things are a bit further away. Things, grasses. You can see what I'm doing is varying the heights every time I stamp. Okay. And then finally, to finish off our bottom, I'm going to take one of the stamps from the Twisted Vine set and my Nocturne. And I'm just going to fill up along the bottom. First, second generation. First, second generation. Some of them are higher than others. There we go. It'll all come together when we do the blending around the edge. Let me clean this up so it's not distracting. And now we're going to take our gorgeous little fairy foragers. As I said, there are 4 in the set. So we're just going to take the first 3 of them. And I just chose the 3 that were facing each other. Because remember, the theme is Woodland Whispers. So I'm going to create her facing upwards a little. Her having a little chat to her, so facing downwards. And then this one has a little lantern in her hand. So she is down here, lighting the way a little. So it's coming together. And now we're going to create some blending around the edge. But before that, I'm going to give it a blast with a heat gun just to make sure that some of this falling ivy doesn't smudge. What I'm going to blend it with is Mowed Lawn and my smoothie. I'm just going to quickly wipe my fingers because I don't want this over the center of my card. When I say wipe my fingers, I just give a splosh of hand sanitizer, which I always have close to hand for just this very type of thing. And a blast with a heat gun, and I'll be back to you. So there we have it. Now you could see that whilst I was heating it, I heated both the front and the back because it does curl, and by heating it, it just curled it the other way. When I'm finished this, I will probably either put it in my clamp press or just under some books for a little while to make sure it's flat. You can glue it straight away, but I probably will do that. Now, we're going to create some paint splatters over the whole design. I'm just going to put a blob of, I'm using Paper Artsy Snowflake paint today. Tiny bit of water there. And my fan brush to create some splatters. So I'm just tapping it with another brush. Now, depending on how thick your paint is, you'll get bigger splatters. Depending on how hard you tap it, you will get different size splatters as well. I love doing splatters, as you will have gathered. So just have a play and find the splattering that you like and love. So there we have it. Thanks so much for watching. I would love to see what you make. There's my original. I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.